welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. This week I want to talk about either creating or strengthening or even sometimes ending community partnerships that your organization or agency has with other agencies in the local area or online or even globally. So there are a lot of ways to kind of gauge what's going to be a win-win situation for all involved. Usually community partnerships develop pretty naturally. You naturally have another agency where their mission complements the work that you're doing with your organization. Those are the pretty easy ones to have, and maybe you already have some of that established. When we're reaching out for new potential partnerships, or there's been a change or a new strategic plan within your organization to expand into the community or into new audiences or create new partnerships, whether those are with corporations or other nonprofits or government agencies, there's a few criteria to keep in mind. And do a really quick, back of the envelope napkin evaluation to make sure it's going to be a really good situation and mutually beneficial. Win-win is what we always want to aim for. So the first thing is do kind of a warm introduction. You don't really want to cold call another organization. Most people in most organizations don't respond too well to that. So start from who you're already connected to, who are your volunteers, your employees, your board, anyone your team is already connected, and do have them kind of be the feelers out in the community for what's a good fit or what is a marketing or partnership goal or target that you think you can invite another organization in to go along with you and collaborate and cooperate with you on this. So kind of having a vision or an identified goal or a specific list, it can just be a few things of criteria that you want to accomplish with another agency. So do a little bit of research, deputize a bunch of people, especially volunteers and board members, to use their connections in the community and maybe bring some of those introductions in so you're not cold calling people and just kind of saying, hey, out of the blue, I have this idea. Sometimes that works, but it's always better to start with a familiar connection or a friendship or a friend of a friend or another business connection that you have. The second thing to keep in mind for community partnerships is making sure that they continue to serve both or all agencies involved. Maybe you're making a little alliance or a coalition of a number of agencies in your area where you can complement each other's work. So having an agreed upon shared goal, and I've talked about shared goals with other topics of Tuesday Tips before, is also good. So once you kind of identify potential partners, invite people to have a conversation, and then have someone come on board and say, yeah, this would be great. Help identify that shared goal that you're all working towards in, again, complementary ways. You've each got a niche or a little piece of the project, or you each can balance each other out in the work. And having an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, is really important to that next part of the process. So the third thing is and it can be a few things, doesn't have to be super complicated, or it can be several pages, whatever you and attorneys or other partner agencies decide to do. If you don't have a template, I'll put an MOU template in the video description below. But just outline a memorandum of understanding or even a partnership agreement or a contract depending on the depth of work. Are you sharing resources? Identify that. Are you sharing volunteers, or are they working alongside, or does that have nothing to do with how you're partnering together? So even no matter what the structure of the agency is that you're working with, just have a pretty clear agreement so that all parties can stay happy with the arrangement. And then my other part of this Tuesday tip in these little 5-minute tips is keep checking in. So have it built in. I like to do a do, plan, check, act, or like a 90-day, 3-month to 6-month check-in, or at least once a year, reevaluate and have some, again, milestones or goals or shared mission points that you've already outlined, and just kind of go through the checklist and make sure that communication is flowing and that you've got the right people assigned to do the right things, or checking in that an agency's bandwidth has changed or your agency's bandwidth has changed and that this isn't as workable anymore, rather than having something build up to a blowout or a burned bridge or bad feelings. So just kind of building in, again, I like to do it in about 3 to 6 month increments, but at least once a year, once you've started to establish some community partnerships, to just check in with each other, and again, ideally have that written out in a memorandum of understanding of what that evaluation or communication or feedback or check-in process looks like. It can be as formal or informal as you want it to be for the work that you're doing together and the goals you're trying to accomplish. Also have a timeline. Most partnerships, I mean, it's great if we can think of them as going on indefinitely, but that's probably not something that's realistic. So it could be that you achieve a goal together with these other agencies, and then that's it, and maybe there's no more work to do together that is worth everyone's time and effort. Or you could realize after a couple of successes that, hey, this is going really, really well, and make that a more long-term thing. So again, having that kind of built-in evaluation process of a little bit of checklists and how's everyone doing with the workload and feeling about it is really great way to keep the community partnerships alive. The other side of this is that if you hit a bump in the road, or it's just not working, or some agency, including yours, isn't able to deliver on their part of the partnership, that's okay too. So the great thing about a contract or an agreement or a memorandum of understanding is hopefully it prevents hurt feelings or blow-ups or misunderstandings, because it is all pretty clearly laid out there for all parties to agree to. And it's okay to say, either we've achieved a goal and we need to, part amicably and do our separate work, or to say, you know what, we thought this was going to work really well, it's not working, so let's dissolve this partnership. That's okay. Just stay emotionally neutral, stay factual. Again, ideally follow the MOU or the contract or the partnership agreement guidelines that you've gone through. And this can be true for things that are corporate events, corporate partnerships, short-term or long-term, for volunteer group engagement or for sponsorship of specific events. Or again, you can plan it to be a certain amount of time or pretty long-term. I wouldn't draft an MOU unless it's tied very specifically to a certain project that you're hoping to achieve together in a time frame. I wouldn't do things more than about a year or two at a time, because the world is changing very quickly, everything's changing very quickly, and we just don't know what other priorities are going to come about. So it's fine if you enter into a community partnership with another organization, it seems like it's going okay, and something drastically changes for one of the both of you, make sure that there's kind of an exit clause or circumstances beyond our control kind of clause or exhibit in the understanding, the agreement, or the contract. So that's kind of a pretty basic plug into community partnerships, and I hope that you have enjoyed all of these Tuesday tips, and we'll see you next time.